Firstly, apologies for the busyness of my back wall. I did take these bloody pictures down, and I think somebody in my household has snuck back in and put them back on the wall. So moving on. We're talking about the great return back to the office, hybrid working, agile working, trying to prise people's hands off their keyboards at home and bringing them back in to the office. And I actually had a conversation with somebody a couple of days ago, really randomly, about this. Because whilst we don't have survey data, we're starting to hear a few anecdotal feedback coming from actual companies here in the UK, I mean. And somebody's like, I don't understand why they don't want to come back. We've done all of this stuff. We've had, all of this stuff, meaning addressing racism, just to be clear. We've had speakers in, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this. They're rattling off all this stuff we've done. It's like, I don't know what else we can do. We've done all this stuff. So I don't understand why, we're having some issues where some of our black people don't want to come back in the office. And I really don't understand where we're going wrong because, in inverted commas, we said that we were going to do as much as we can to make a difference. We've been doing all of this stuff. So why don't they want to come back? So when I asked the question, I was like, listen, all this stuff that you've done is great. How much of this stuff is directed actually at your line managers, your functional heads of department, your directors? Meaning, have you leaned in to ask them questions around how and why they've struggled to recruit people who don't look like them into their teams? Why they are struggling to sponsor anybody who doesn't look like them? Why they are expecting, black colleagues to formally apply for roles, but for other people, they're happy with a tap on the shoulder? Why? So I said, basically, have you looked at how your people managers are potentially perpetuating racism or discrimination, irrespective of whether it's intentional or not? It's not about that. But have you looked at that? Now the answer is no, right? So then I said, right, there you go. That's why your black colleagues don't want to come back. Because all of the things that they had to put up with prior to lockdown, we've now all learnt more. We're more aware, in some cases more empowered. People are more likely to use their voice. There's going to be problems if they come back to the office because the same bullshit that they were putting up with before, the microaggressions / racial trauma, that they were dealing with, people touching their hair, being ignored, being silenced, being excluded, having to be told it's not their time to wait for a promotion, blah, blah, blah. All of the things that you just have to grin and bear when you're in the office. When you're at home, you don't have to deal with that. You can turn off your camera when you're on a Zoom or Teams or whatever. When you come back to the office, you're forced to deal with people who probably have done no reflection over the last 18 months or so, but also as an organisation, you haven't enabled that because you've done all of this periphery transactional stuff to demonstrate that you're making a difference, but actually it's not going to where the real problems lie. And invariably, it's with line managers, invariably it's with heads of department. So I said, that's why they don't want to come back. And also the other thing I also want to address is tackling racism within organisations is not charity. This is about equality and it's also about equity. So if you're approaching this from a viewpoint of we've done all of this stuff and we're expecting our black colleagues to be grateful, you have to go back and sit with yourself for a moment. What do they need to be grateful for? Really, that you're then expecting them to accept, even if things haven't changed fundamentally. But this whole reinforcing of you being in a higher position, this white supremacist thinking that we have to be grateful, has got to stop. That's why your colleagues don't want to come back, because they know it's going to be problems. Do you know what I mean? Sally from accounts start touching up somebody's hair, she's going to lose her hand. And then what happens to the colleagues? So they'd rather stay home. Do you know what I mean? So this is the reality of what happens when you're still practicing avoidance, even if you've got a long list of all the things that you've been doing. So it's my moment of real talk, and I thought to myself, I must just share this, things have changed. I'm not saying every black colleague is going to be in this case, but you know what? Start asking the question then. If you're listening to me and thinking, oh no, that's not the same with us. Okay, fine. Don't listen to me. Go and ask your black colleagues. Ask them, how much has things changed? How far they're looking forward to coming back to the office, in inverted commas. What's making them reluctant to come back? And whatever the answers are, be prepared to do something about it. This is not like an I told you so thing, but this is like, you know, when you feel like some people need a hard dose of reality. We're not the same. A lot of us in the, you know, where we were a year ago, a year and a half ago. Going into lockdown and coming out, two different things now. World has changed, you know, and it really shows up maybe some of the gaps in your approach to this if you have taken quite a transactional approach, if you have just lobbed traditional diversity and inclusion things on top of this and not really looked underneath the bonnet, so to speak, to find out what on earth is going on, where are the problems, and when we know the problems, what are we prepared to do differently? You know, because like you can run me a list of all the things that you've been doing, but my argument is if ask your black colleagues then how do they feel, and if they think you haven't done that much and they don't want to come back to the office, what are they expected to be grateful for? So yeah, that's my little, I feel like it's a public service announcement in it, but you know when you just feel like people need real talk. So yeah, that was me giving real talk for the day.